And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week.
And another Saturday morning in January, but this week the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers will not be playing. My dream of an all-Pennsylvania Super Bowl wrecked once again by the hapless teams from both ends of my state. But the NFL playoffs move forward, and thankfully, in 1 month, pitchers and catchers report, and it's the start of the spring season for Major League Baseball. We're all looking forward to that as much as we're looking forward to March Madness. And my Villanova Wildcats continue to improve. They'll be back in the big dance this year. And in real news, here in my home state of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Farm Show comes to a conclusion today. If you haven't gotten a chance to get out, you got a couple of hours yet to see the greatest show on earth. And in agriculture news, Congressman GT Thompson from my home state, a dear friend and chairman of the House Agriculture Committee, got his Whole Milk for Healthy Kids bill signed into law this week by President Trump, a long overdue adjustment to some really misplaced policies a couple of decades ago. Congratulations to Congressman Thompson, to his Agriculture Committee, to the entire Congress, and a great thing for not only Pennsylvania and American farmers, dairy farmers in particular, but also for healthy kids. And some more news from Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro, our governor, has some things to be very concerned about. I've been talking about them a lot recently, but this week it was announced that the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania is going to take an investigatory look at this Ellen Greenberg case, the beautiful young woman who was brutally murdered. Josh Shapiro seems to think it was a suicide, stabbed more than 20 times, including some in the back, and according to the coroner's report, some post-mortem, a pretty tough trick to pull if it's a suicide. Shapiro hasn't wanted to talk about this at all, and we understand why. But now there's going to be increased scrutiny, and I'm guessing there's a little bit of agita in certain parts of the administration. Let's wait and see. We don't have all the facts yet, but the Greenberg family deserves justice, and they deserve closure. They've gotten neither thus far, in large part due to Josh Shapiro. The Greenberg family has said so publicly and privately for sure. And finally, it's all Pennsylvania news today. Sorry, folks from other states, but here in Pennsylvania, Dina Powell McCormick, the wife of U.S. Senator Dave McCormick, this week was named as president of Meta, the parent company of Facebook, a giant conglomerate of technology headed by Mark Zuckerberg. A tremendous appointment for her, well-deserved, well-earned. She sat on their board for several years and has a distinguished career of her own. And her husband, Dave McCormick, finishing up his first year in the U.S. Senate, is already living up to the expectations, a pretty high bar, by the way, that we helped to set for him, saying that he was going to emerge as a national leader, and he certainly has. And what has been very, very interesting is his working relationship with the state's senior senator, Senator John Fetterman, who I don't think a lot of people thought would get along all that well with Dave McCormick when he first took office, but they've proved to be a tremendous duo, working really hard, not only for the people of Pennsylvania, but for the people of America, and doing some really good things behind the scenes and in public view, because their bipartisan efforts have worked. And we don't do this very often, but we're going to today because I think this little piece of video is worth seeing by every American. Senator Josh Hawley, who in my judgment is the best cross-examiner in the Senate, with the possible exception of John Kennedy, who's equally brilliant. But Josh Hawley goes after these people with fortitude and real straightforwardness. And he got this Dr. Verma person on this week asking her repeatedly, can men have babies? And she didn't want to answer. This is where the Democrat far left has gotten us, into this absolute nuttiness land. And if you listen to the verbal gymnastics that you went through, trying to avoid answering a very simple question that a third grader, a first grader could answer for that matter, it really is comical. But these people want to be taken seriously. This person is ostensibly a medical doctor, unable to say whether or not biological males can produce children. Think about that. But when you watch it and see her just in complete equivocation, it is really stunning that the Democrats would choose to trot out somebody this wacky to be one of their quote-unquote expert witnesses. And when you watch it, you'll say, that wasn't, but watching Charlie was the best 60 seconds of my week.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you bring it up, why don't we just start there? Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question is.
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics.
Absolutely.
So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
can men get pregnant?
I take care of many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
Can men get pregnant?
Again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
no, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you. You know, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert. And you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
This is extraordinary.
Male with
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
What you were talking about is biological.
You're not going to answer my question.
Biological males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
Again, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and push.
I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm trying to ask, I think it is extraordinary that we are here in a hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men. We are here about the safety of women and science that shows that this abortion drug causes adverse health events in 11% of cases. That's 22 times greater than the FDA label, another fact you haven't acknowledged, and yet you won't even acknowledge the basic reality that biological men don't get pregnant. There's a difference between biological men and biological women. I don't know how we can take you seriously and your claims to be a person of science if you won't level with this on this basic issue. I thought we were past all of this, frankly. I can't believe we're still here talking about this.
I am a person of science, and I'm also someone here who's here to represent the complex experiences of my patients, and I don't think polarized language or questions serve that goal. I don't think they serve the American people.
It is not polarizing to say that there is a scientific difference between men and women, and I want this to be clear and for the record. It is not polarizing to say that women are a biological reality and should be treated and protected as such. That is not polarizing, that is truth. It is also, by the way, the United States Constitution, which offers unique protections to women in a variety of circumstances as women. And your refusal to recognize women as women and men as men is deeply corrosive to science, to public trust, and yes, to constitutional protections for women as women. And I think it's extraordinary that you would sit here and advance a political agenda that has been thoroughly discredited and rejected by the American people in this forum. And I'm glad we had this exchange because it is exceptionally clarifying. It is also in many ways quite depressing. I see that my time has nearly expired. I just want to thank the other witnesses for being here. Thank you for protecting women and children. Thank you for your valiant efforts. Thank you for following the science. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this hearing.
Senator